are some of the things you did to reactivate? And I love the word reanimate. That's even better. What did you do to kind of make those networks and reactivate those?
Oh, this is a great question. So the first thing I did, and I don't know if this is going to sound very simple, but I just reached out to people. Like I just emailed them. So I'd been to law school as a classic example, and then I left. I went to New York, and most people stayed in Toronto. Then I quit and moved to England, and most people were still building their career in Toronto. And I didn't talk to anybody, not because I was avoiding them, but because I'm pretty shy and I was just kind of doing my own thing. But I like existed on Facebook. And so people were seeing this dude, like, why is he in England? I don't know what's going on. So then when I came back 8 years later, I just reached out to everybody I went to law school with who I was connected to on LinkedIn, or I just went to the law firm page. I just Googled them, found their email, and just said, hey, I'm starting a business. Can we have a coffee? And 100% of the people said yes. And It wasn't because it wasn't because we had been like in touch every day. I know you're doing like 30 days of networking this month, and it's like try to reach out to people, like 5 people a day or whatever, which is amazing. And I'm trying to do that. But like, I didn't do that. I didn't even know that that was something I should be doing. And I'm really glad that I didn't know I should be doing it at the time, because I would have been so embarrassed to reach out to these people who I'd known at school. But it turns out, at least if you're starting a business, people know it's hard, and my experience, at least, everybody was interested, like, wow, tell me about this thing you're doing. And 2, yeah, I'll buy you a coffee. Your life is going to be so hard for the next while. I'm now a partner in Toronto. I'm happy to flow you a coffee while you do this thing.
But I want to go back to something on this, the people you reached out to.
Yeah.
You had a relationship with them back in law school.
Yeah.
Like you had some kind of strong connection.
No, not even. We had been.
Not even like no connect. Like when you were at law school, were you like a complete jerk, or were you like friendly with these people?
So when I was in law school, I wore a tie almost every day, for reasons I still don't understand. So I was friendly with people, but I wasn't like super. I wasn't like a social butterfly, like plugged in and networked. Right. So like U of T law is like 200 students per year. So I probably was on like a first name basis with 100 people.
Okay.
And, like 20 of them I chatted to and we were pals. But like for any of the 100 people that I just knew their name, and I like enough that I could find them on the internet, I reached out. And because, the ask is pretty low. It's not like, hey, introduce me to your boss. It's like, I'm in Toronto. Can we have a coffee? Because,
Yeah. And you part of the point I'm getting to is like when you were at law school, I'm going to assume tie and all, you probably stood out.
Yeah.
My guess is you weren't a complete jerk. Maybe if these other people think you were, they could chime in now and let me know. But you weren't the classmate or colleague who, like there's an email and some kind of a touch point. There's been studies, University of Kansas and others have done this, that it's much easier to reignite an old friendship, or even if it was just a light touch one, much easier to reignite that than start a new relationship. Then, part of the reason why I say start with who you know, start with who you know. But if you had been a complete jerk back in law school, chances are, for me, like if you reached out to me, I would have been like, yeah, Chris, you were a turd in law school. Why do I want to talk to you now? That's nice you're starting a business, but who cares, right? But my guess is you might have been the kind of person at law school that other people were like, yeah, he was a decent sort. I'll take his call. I'll buy him a coffee.
Oh, I think that's very fair. Absolutely. I think I would back that description of me at law school, a decent sort.
You did the work in hunting these people down, right? In terms of figuring out where they were, what they were up to. You probably just didn't, jump in their email and say, hey, buy me coffee, right? You kind of little background, a little whatever. This is what you're up to. Look at you, this kind of stuff. This is what you're doing, some kind of a connection. And if you had already that pre-existing warm relationship, in some ways it's a hard, gutsy ask, but in some ways it's an easy one. It also, let's not overlook the fact that all of us have busy, complicated lives. And so we don't need to hear from people all the time. Like, you don't need to be buying someone coffee or having coffee with them every week. If you have some past history of building up strength, that, like, it can be a light touch over time.
Absolutely. It's funny. Maybe I guess two things. One is I didn't realize what you just said. Like like a light touch is okay. You don't have to be in touch constantly. Like it's okay to reach out with a low level ask to somebody you're not BFFs with. I didn't realize that until I read the book. So that was something else that really was empowering for me. The other thing on Mary's point is it's interesting. It's partly hard, or I think the reason it's hard for these low level asks is just because it's unfamiliar. So like, I think now I don't feel difficult at all about reaching out to people with low level asks. Like I'm still working through my contact list at law school, and there are lots of people who I bump into in the world and I would like to have a coffee. I have like a specific ask, and I feel much less friction about it now, but that's just because it's familiar. So I think it was equally easy 4 years ago, but I had zero practice doing it. So in that case, it felt very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's a thing about rejection. And, maybe that's what some of what I try to do in the book is when I say, do your research, start with the people you already know, think about what's going on in their lives. It's like trying to reduce that fear of rejection. And that fear of rejection to me is what stops us from getting started.